Hello everybody, this is Zaxter99. Today I'm going to go ahead and do something a little bit different. And I'm going to go ahead and get into trying to show people out there that are real beginners in coding, in programming, a little bit about what I know about game development. This is more in the aspect of games, but programming could be for any number of things. It could be for applications. It could be for a lot of things. And I was gonna use something like the free Game Maker application that's free, and then it does cost money if you want to buy it and start selling your games and that kind of thing. But rather than that, uh, I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go ahead. I've just recently started getting into C++. And I think that's where I'm going to go, even though I don't know as much about the actual C++ programming because I'm a lot newer with it. Now, I've programmed a lot of simpler games in the past, 3 to 4 years. And this is all stuff that I've just learned through trial and error mostly. I haven't bought any books. I've never taken a class on game programming, on programming whatsoever. Uh, my desire to do that always started when I was a kid back with the Commodore 64. And I would type in the programs in a basic language that was built into the Commodore 64. I type in the games and stuff like that out of the compute magazines that would be sold monthly in the stores. And I would type these things in, and if you made one little typo, you'd get an error usually, or the game wouldn't run right, and you'd have to go back and look it all over and check it line by line. And by doing that and seeing some of the basic code that a lot of these games had, I started realizing, hey, I'm typing the same thing, or this has to do this, and I'd start learning what commands and what kind of, uh, I'd start learning a basic format of how the games would run. And a lot of times, just by typing in a game, I could kind of understand how the game worked without even knowing how to program myself. And then I started, experimenting with a lot of the games, and I'd go in and I'd be like, okay, well, in this game, it's in a basic language, they start you with 3 lives. But I would be able to cheat, and I'd go back into the code, and I would change the variable in the basic code from lives, or whatever they named lives. Usually they named it something that was easy, like L or LV or lives, because you can change a variable, you can call it whatever you want. And if I would see like lives equal 3, I would change that to lives equal 5, or lives equal 10, or lives equal 500. And if I changed it to lives equal 500, I'd start the game and I'd have 500 lives. So that's a real basic idea of, how I started learning the basic language back in the 80s when I was a kid. And I remember I tried to make, a simple game or two, and I'd start off and I'd have some idea, but I would never actually complete it. So it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years ago that I came across a program called Dark Basic. It's made from the game creators. And it has a real basic language. It's a lot different than the basic language I had on the Commodore 64, but sort of kind of the same. And no matter what language you're programming this in, whether it be basic or whether it be, you know, Lua or all these different uh, programming languages that are available out there, even C++, which we're gonna, get into today if you want to follow these videos. Whatever language you choose, what happens is you're just using a program or a compiler that gives you commands that make a little more sense. But all these programs do is change whatever, language you're programming your game into, whether it be basic or whatever. The compiler or the program changes whatever you type in into machine language. Zeros and ones, basically. Whole bunch of zeros and ones. And that is what actually tells the computer what to do. And it's called machine language because that's the language the computer understands. So C++ is a highly desirable language to learn, though. It's probably one of the best to learn because if you learn C++, which is a little more complex than like a basic language, for example, but if you learn that, it's a lot easier for the compiler to turn that into a faster program. And once you learn C++, you can pretty much branch out and do anything from there. So once you learn the basic C++ language, that is a great starting point. If you learn like basic language, like I kind of did 3 or 4 years ago, I think it's a little bit harder to move to something like C++ because you're taking a step up in how advanced the language is. So it's better to start off a little more advanced and actually learn that, and then you can actually learn simpler languages that are going to be easier for you rather than taking a step in the harder direction. And it's also one of the most versatile languages that you can learn is C++, and that's why I'm going to do this today. So if you guys, and I'm going to start off real basic. I'm going to show you guys some of the basic ideas that I know, things like variables and for next loops and if then statements, and how to put code onto the screen, and how a computer program does really basic stuff, and that's where I plan on starting. So what we want to do is we want to learn the basics of learning C++ and how a program would work and how a game would work today. What do you need to do to actually make up a game? It's a lot more complicated. You have to think about a lot more than just visualizing, you know, Call of Duty in your mind and say, well, I want Call of Duty with, apes and snakes or whatever you're thinking. So we're going to get into that a little bit more. But the first thing I want to do if you want to learn C++ and start going through the basic stuff is I want to go ahead and have you guys go to Google, and I'm going to focus primarily on Windows users, Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8. Okay, so if you're using C++ is definitely a language that you can use on the other, Apple and Macs and stuff like that. But I'm going to primarily focus on Windows users. So I want you to go to Google, and there I want you to go ahead and type in code blocks. It doesn't matter if you type it in one word or 2 words. But if you type in code blocks into Google, the first thing that should come up is code and 2 hyphens and then blocks. And www.codeblocks.org is the website. But if you go to Google, you'll see a downloads. And this is what I want you to actually click on here is the downloads link. You can come to the basic home website and then click downloads as well. But here we have 3 different options on what we're going to do as far as downloading this program. And this is what you call an IDE. I think it stands for Integrated Development Environment, is what IDE stands for. And what this is this is going to be a program that's actually going to change some more basic commands that you and I can understand into the machine language and compile it into a program that the computer can run. So what we want to do is we want to focus on downloading the binary release, the first option here. So go ahead and click on that. And once you do that, the first set, and so this is where you got it all for your Linux and your different Linux systems and stuff like that. But I want to go ahead and focus on the very top section here, which is Windows 2000, XP, Vista, and 7. And this is important here. You want to go ahead and get the version here that says 13-12.meanw. Setup execute. You don't want to grab this first one without that mean W because it doesn't have the compiler and it's not going to understand. From what I understand, that's correct. This doesn't have the first one doesn't have the compiler, and you want the compiler built in as well. So what I do is I just go to the middle one here and I click on SourceForge.net. Now if you're downloading this compiler, a year from now watching this video, it may be a different version. You may be looking at a different version of code blocks, and it may look a little bit different. But I think it's basically going to be the same. You just want the mean W, but you don't want all these extra capitals, initials, and stuff like that in there. So I just go to click the SourceForge.net link here, and if you just wait, you don't need to click anything here because that's just going to be an ad, and it's going to pop up an ad. If you just wait a few seconds, it should come up with a window like this to download it, or to save it rather. So you're just going to go ahead and save this file. It's going to take just a few minutes to go ahead and download. Now I've already actually downloaded this. So once you actually download this, you're going to see, anyway, you're going to see, let me stop this one. You're going to see it's completed here. It's not going to be filling up the bar anymore. And so you're just going to go ahead and click that from your downloads. Now different browsers are a little bit different on how you get to your downloads, but a lot of times they'll actually pop up. So you're going to go ahead and click that file, and then you're going to go ahead and install it by just hitting next, next, next. Make sure you don't uncheck anything when you actually go to install it. So I've already got this installed, but you'll see that you want to go ahead and agree to it, and you want to make sure that all these 4 little boxes here are checked. Don't uncheck any of those. Go ahead and hit next and continue to install it. Once you actually do all that, what it's actually going to do is it's going to put a program right on your desktop like this, code blocks. Okay. Once you get into code blocks, I want you guys to go ahead and open it up. Okay. And there's something we need to do to make sure that code blocks will be able to run your programs once we start typing in code. Okay. And this is an open source program. There's no fee for it. It's why I like code blocks. It's completely free. And it's very, very, very nice IDE, they call it, Integrated Development Environment. I believe the I is integrated. I believe that's what it stands for. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But we're going to go ahead in here and we're going to go ahead and click the create. Actually, once it opens up, we're not going to click create a new project. What I want you to do is I want you to come up here to the settings. Okay. And once you click settings, I want you to go into compiler. So I want you to choose the compiler option, and you're going to get a global compiler settings list. And it's important we do this because if we don't, it's not going to be able to compile your programs and it's not going to be able to run your program. Instead, you'll be getting errors. Okay guys, once you go into the compiler section settings here, I want you to go ahead and click on this tab for the toolchain executables. Okay? And once you actually click on that, the first thing I want you to look at here is this line right here. This is probably going to be a line, and it may be the installation directory. What this is looking for is it's looking for the compiler part of the code blocks. And it may, very well could be that this setting here is not actually where it installed that compiler. So all you should have to do here on this line is simply come over here and click auto detect. Okay. Now once you click auto detect, you'll see a window like this, and you'll either accept it or hit OK or whatever, and it will find where the compiler is actually at and auto detect that. You'll want to go ahead and hit OK, and after that we should be ready to start writing some code. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to write our first code here, and we're going to go ahead and click create a new project. Now when you create a new project, I want you to go ahead and click the console application here. So you can just either click it and then click go, or you can double click it. And it's going to say, welcome to the new console application wizard. This wizard will guide you to create a new console application. When you're ready to proceed, click next. I would go ahead and check the box to skip that so you don't see this every time. Okay. Here we're going to go into C++, so we want to choose C++. It should be there by default. Hit next. And then we're going to go ahead and click project title. And we're going to go ahead and name this My First C++ Program. Okay. And here, what I've done is I've actually just clicked these little boxes and I've just chose desktop from the top. That way it puts a folder right on the desktop so I know where my game folders are at. And that way when you're done with this certain, first program, for example, you can just right click on that folder and delete it when you're done. So I just chose the desktop. You can certainly put your game folder anywhere you want, but choose wherever you want it here. If you want it in a separate folder or whatever, just name it. You can right click and create a new folder if that's what you want to do. Whatever you want to do, and then where you want to start putting your projects, just click that and then click OK. Okay, everything else should stay the same. It should name your program file name should be my first C++ program.cbp. That's the format that Code Blocks actually uses. I'm sure the CB stands for code block, probably program. And then we're going to go ahead and hit next. And then I want you to go ahead and leave all this stuff here. Select the compiler you want to use. There's a lot of different options of different compilers that you can actually use, but we're just going to go ahead and use the one that's built in here. And we're going to go ahead and click finish. And then you're going to see a screen like this. And it's going to say the name of your program that you've named it up here. It's going to say that this is in Code Blocks, whatever version of Code Blocks you're using. And then you're going to see on the left-hand side here, it's going to show your project, your workspace, and it's going to say the name of your program again here. and then it's going to say sources. Well, this is the sources that this program is actually using for the program. So if you click on the little plus here, you want to do that. And then you're going to go ahead and double click this main. So go ahead and highlight that or double click it. And that's actually going to bring up your code for our first game. Now normally there's a lot of different tutorials on how to create your first program that basically brings up text that says hello world, and we have to actually type this all out. Okay, so what is included in this code blocks is it actually includes this hello world program already here for us. Okay, and so if what I want to show you guys how to do is you have the ability here to just go ahead and run this and see exactly what this program does. So to do that, you just simply click this little green arrow here to run it. Okay, and it says, it seems this project has not been built yet. Do you want to build it now? We're going to go ahead and hit yes. We're going to go ahead and and what it's doing when it builds it is it's actually compiling it. If you have you may have an antivirus like mine, analyze it and say, okay, there's no problems. But what this program does, this text right here, this is your program. Okay, what this does is this tells the machine to basically bring up your DOS window and simply output text to the screen so that we can read it. And it simply says hello world. And then it's going to tell you how long it took and everything like that. But that's all this program is doing, is actually outputting to this little window here, hello world. Now thankfully, code blocks includes a little press any key to continue here. Otherwise we would not see this window at all. It would flash up so quickly and disappear so quickly that we wouldn't even see it. But like I say, thankfully this IDE has a built-in mechanic that makes us press a key before it vanishes. So hit any key and it will just disappear because that's all this program does. Okay, so at this point I don't want to have these videos too long. Okay, at this point, if you are right here with me, okay, and you was able to go ahead and get this program to run, if you was able to get code blocks installed and you got that little black screen that said hello world, just like I did, then we are successful. You have got a IDE, okay, which is what you need to start coding. It's completely free. It doesn't take up a lot of room on your computer. It's not very big at all. And Code Blocks is a great program, and you are set to start learning C++ language. So we're going to go ahead, depending on my responses, how many views I get, and stuff like that will depend on if I continue this, but I plan on making at least a couple of these videos and showing some real basic stuff. And I want to get into, one of my videos is going to be basically, what should you be trying to do with your first game? How ambitious should your first game be and stuff like that. Because the biggest problem that happens with most people is they go, wow, okay, I got a game program and Zaxter 99 or whatever is going to show me how to start programming my own game. And they start getting excited and they start thinking about all these things like, wow, you know what? I loved World of Warcraft. I just want to make a game with this, and that. And I want to make World of Warcraft only bigger and better. Or I want to make Call of Duty. What I want to do is I want to combine Call of Duty and World of Warcraft. And I want to have gunmen versus, fantasy creatures and be able to fight dragons and fly on dragons. And they start getting crazy with how they want to make this new super ambitious game, right? Because they get overexcited. Now that excitement and those thoughts and the imagination and the inspiration that you have, I want you guys to keep that, okay? But programming, I can tell you that I've been learning how to program, and I've programmed for quite a few years now. I know quite a bit about it, even though I haven't taken any classes or anything like that. We are going to start really, really simple because it's important that you understand the basics of what you're doing, okay? Nobody goes in and learns how to completely take apart a car and rebuild it. Can you imagine that if you didn't even know which way to turn a screw, left or right, to tighten it or loosen it, right? Which is kind of where a lot of people are at when it comes to programming. They don't know anything. Like if you look at this code and you don't have any clue what this means, right? Well, basically you don't know which way to turn a screw with a screwdriver to tighten it or loosen it, okay? So can you imagine somebody like that being told, hey, go out in the garage and completely take apart this diesel engine and reassemble it so that it works. It's never going to happen. You know, it's way, way, way too much all at once. It would overwhelm the person. They wouldn't even know where to start, right? So that's kind of what happens with most people once they start saying, you know, they can start getting excited about, you know, being able to program their first games. Yes, we're going to get there, and if I get enough response, I get enough feedback and enough views, then I definitely want to teach you guys how to make some simple little games and stuff like that, kind of like some of the games that I've given away free here on my YouTube channel, Lemma Maze and Dicey and a basic snake game are some of the games that I already have free that I've programmed myself. Okay, so I want to show you guys the basics of that and build up to even there, because it's going to take a lot before we even get to the point of making a basic snake game. Okay, so if I get enough feedback, if I get enough views, if I have enough interest in this, I plan on getting there eventually. But the biggest thing I can tell you guys starting out, you know, especially if you're a real beginner, is, you know, slow down. Okay, if you can't make a basic Pong, if you can't make a basic snake game, if you don't have a clue on even how to do that, then you just need to slow down on try to make the next MMO, or you know how to make or making the next, you know, whatever. If you want thinking I'm gonna make the next Diablo 3 or whatever, slow down your thoughts and your ambition and all that. All that is fine and well, but the reason I'm telling you to slow down is because if you get too ambitious, if you start getting your hopes set too high on what you're going to be making next week with this program, then you're just bound to be disappointed. Okay, because nobody starts learning how to program and, you know, starts putting out games like that even in 6 months. So it's definitely not going to happen real fast. Okay, so I just want to make sure that nobody out there is getting too excited and building their excitement level up way too much, so that in the end they're just left disappointed. Instead, what I want you guys to do when we actually go in and we start building our first little game, which will probably be like a number guessing game, I haven't even decided yet, something real simple. What I want you guys to do is once we actually get there and you follow along with me, and you know, you are able to program it just like I am, and then I ask you to change a couple of things to get a certain response from your program that's a little bit different than what I showed you. As I explain everything, I'm going to explain what everything does, and I'm going to say, okay, well, now that you understand this basic little program, I want you to go ahead and change this program to do this or this or this. And as you guys start to understand and figure out how to do that and how a basic program works, I guarantee you that you are going to build a lot of pride and satisfaction even with that. Okay? So that's where I want to go with this series. And we're going to be learning C++. Again, I am not an expert at all with C++, but I do have quite a bit of knowledge and experience here in the last few years with just making basic small programs. Okay? So I definitely plan on sharing that knowledge that I have with you guys. All right, I've also been a gamer for all my life as far as playing the games as well. So I look forward to this. I look forward to seeing everybody's response on this and how excited, and, you know, comments down below. And, you know, if anybody else subscribes to me just for this reason on learning C++ with me, then that will encourage me more to put out these videos for you guys. So in my next video, we will actually go in, we'll take a look at this hello world, we'll see exactly how it works, we'll start learning some basic commands, and we'll start putting a little more into a program and make something that does a little bit more than says hello world to the screen. So I want to thank you guys for watching. This has been Zaxter99. We'll talk to you in the next video. Be sure you leave those comments down below. Be sure you click in the upper right hand corner if you want to be notified of all my future videos by subscribing to me. That's going to make sure that you are notified of all my future videos. And please, if you guys are interested in this, please show me by giving me a thumbs up and or giving me a like and leaving comments down below. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Take care.